Good evening. I'm David Platts, and I am the Executive Director of the South Carolina Arts Commission. Again this year, I am honored to be joined by South Carolina First Lady Peggy McMaster here at the Governor's Mansion to present this year's South Carolina's Arts Awards. Mrs. McMaster and I again have the pleasure of recognizing and honoring the 2021 recipients of the Governor's Awards for the Arts and also the Jean Laney Harris Folk Heritage Awards. It's hard to believe that it was just 1 year ago that the word pandemic was just beginning to enter into our everyday conversation. But it did more than that. It quickly made its presence felt on all aspects of life. But we South Carolinians have never been a people who just quit or give up. In the face of adversity and uncertainty, we did what we have always done. We adjusted, adapted, changed, and kept moving forward. We did not, and we do not let this pandemic stop us from living our lives, from reaching our goals, from pursuing our dreams. And nowhere is this more evident than within South Carolina's artistic community. Yes, the pandemic changed many things, but it could do nothing to dampen or weaken the creative spirit and drive of our state's artists. Despite all the challenges of the past year, they refused to give up. They adapted. They persevered, which is why we are able again to gather this year, still physically distant, but united in soul and purpose, to recognize and honor a group of women, men, and organizations who represent the very best of arts and creativity in South Carolina. Challenging circumstances did not diminish their excellence or their contributions. In fact, if anything, in a time of so much separation and isolation, the unifying contribution of the arts and artists are even more important for us to acknowledge and to celebrate. There are many wonderful things that all of us cherish about living in South Carolina. We have been blessed with the beauty of nature, from the mountains to the sea, with a rich history and heritage, and most importantly, with wonderful and amazing people, past and present, who have made and who continue to make our state such an amazing place. During this ceremony, we will introduce and recognize the contributions and achievements of several individuals, some of those wonderful and amazing people that I mentioned a moment ago. Each artist you meet tonight will be unique, with particular talents and passions and accomplishments. But they are united by three very important bonds: their passion and creativity as artists, their devotion to our culture, traditions, and quality of life, and perhaps most importantly, their state of residence, their status as South Carolinians. Our recognition and celebration of them is really a celebration of us all, and of this wonderful place that we, as their fellow South Carolinians, so proudly call home. And so again, it is my honor to join you tonight, and let's get the celebrations started. Hosting us now for this award ceremony is someone who is familiar to all South Carolinians. She is a great supporter and advocate for the arts, our state's First Lady, Peggy McMaster. Thank you, Ms. McMaster, for hosting us today in this beautiful setting. We're happy to be here and just looking forward to the awards.
Hello, David. It is my pleasure to have you and all our viewers joining us here at the Governor's Mansion. The arts play an important role in lives and communities across South Carolina, and tonight we recognize and honor the achievements of 9 gifted recipients. All of them are exceptional parts of our state's cultural life.
Many of you remember our awards ceremony from last year, where we relied on the talents of several South Carolina filmmakers, artists in and of themselves, to help us document and introduce to you our award recipients. The film clips, the images and words they captured did more to convey the soul and spirit and impact of our recipients than anything that we could read to you from a script. So, Once again, we asked a group of South Carolina filmmakers to work with us and help us present to you our 2021 awards recipients. Yes, COVID-19 still posed some challenges, but our filmmakers and recipients were undeterred, and they made it work. So, this evening, you will see short films produced by these South Carolina artists after some special introductions, and who knows, there may even be some personal surprises for them as well. The Jean Laney Harris Folk Heritage Awards are presented in partnership with the McKissick Museum at the University of South Carolina. Joining us to recognize the 2021 recipients is Museum Executive Director Jane Prisby.
Today, we are happy to recognize two South Carolinians dedicated to preserving and presenting our state's long-standing and recently arrived artistic and cultural traditions. The traditional arts embody forms of creativity that are rooted in a people's culture and history. One generation of artists passes them down to the next. McKissick Museum at the University of South Carolina and the South Carolina Arts Commission are partners in preserving and nurturing these art forms. The Jean Laney Harris Folk Heritage Awards are one way we do that. They are the state's highest awards for practitioners and advocates of traditional arts. Growing up in the Indian state of Bihar, Jugnu Verma was surrounded by traditional Indian art. She learned to paint people, nature, and Hindu deities in the Madhubani art tradition, distinctive for its use of geometric patterns. A neighbor's grandmother introduced her to Rangoli, a kind of floor painting that uses colored rice and flowers set out in designs that serve as welcome mats for Hindu gods during religious festivals. From her mother, she learned about henna, the ancient plant-based body art that both men and women adorn themselves with for special celebrations. Now making Lexington, South Carolina her home, Jugnu is something of a cultural ambassador to our state. She generously shares these centuries-old Indian art forms as an artist in residence for select Lexington schools and as a presenting artist at the Columbia Museum of Art, the Richland Library, Artista Vista, and Folk Fabulous, the folk festival McKissick Museum co-hosts with the South Carolina State Fair and the Wasama tribe of Varnertown Indians.
I am so proud of my friend Jugnu Verma, who has been awarded the 2021 Jean Laney Folk Heritage Award. Jugnu is absolutely amazing and an artist par excellence. What I admire most about Jugnu is the sheer excitement and enthusiasm she brings to cross-cultural events, be it at the library, at the State Museum, in the schools. She is passionate about exhibiting the various Indian folk art forms, and she loves to teach and educate the same. Her henna tattoos, her colorful rangolis, her Madhubani paintings, they are all beautiful. Jugnu loves to connect with people. She really shares the excitement when, she makes a henna tattoo on somebody and they love it. She feels that art can bridge boundaries and unite communities, and I agree with her. On behalf of the entire Indian community, I am so grateful to the judges for giving Jugnu this prestigious award. Thank you.
I grew up in a small town, Bihar, India, where women have been found to have remarkable skills in art and crafts. Traditionally, art skills are passed down from generation to generation, so this is how I learned. I learned lots of things from my mom. I learned lots of things from my aunts and from my neighbors. They were all families, Folk art is part of our rituals in temples, in homes. It's just not a part of art. It's actually, mothers of India, they are showing to children to think for others. Like we made rangoli with the lentils and beans, which is feeding to birds and ants and others also. This kohber style we generally paint on the wall during wedding ceremony to bless a newlywed couple. And if you'll see, I painted jasmine flower, tiger butterfly, long-head turtle, and deer, which is the symbols of South Carolina. I'm trying to help in cultural outreach and building bonds with the larger community. Some of my friends, they say that I'm just like ambassador, cultural ambassador, but I don't feel like that. It is very important for South Carolinians to know about India, as the state has a significant population of Indian Americans. I'm getting really good response from schools and museums. I work in libraries. I never felt that I'm gonna get an award for that. So it's really like overwhelming for me. Thank you, South Carolina Art Commission, and thanks all my friends, family, and special thanks to Mona Verma, who nominated me for this award.
Our artistic category recipient, Jugnu Verma. Congratulations to you. Avid outdoorsman Bob Hill contributes to and advocates for a unique art form from his Plantersville home in coastal Georgetown County. Passions for decoy carving, forging knives, and carving gun stocks led to relationships with master engraver Jack Spain and master gunsmith Frank Burton. After a year of studying and experimenting, he completed his first rifle. And soon thereafter, he recognized the need to preserve this craft. He continued his training and further studied Carolina firearms history. Then in 1994, Bob co-founded what is now known as the Philip Simmons Artist Blacksmith Guild of South Carolina. Today, gunsmiths throughout the region recognize him as an exemplary practitioner and advocate of this traditional craft.
Hello, I'm Walter Hill, the director of the Horry County Museum and the L.W. Paul Living History Farm. Today, I'd like to make a few comments about Bob Hill, the recipient of the Arts Advocate Award. Not only has Bob achieved excellence in multiple crafts, he has influenced numerous people who have interest in learning the skills he possesses. As his son, I have a lifetime of friends gained through his willingness to teach others wood carving, blacksmithing, knife making, horn work, and of course, gun making. It has always been important to him that he not only preserve the traditional arts he mastered, but to see that others also appreciated and continued these traditions. He's taught classes, founded a statewide blacksmith organization, demonstrated to thousands of people at historical sites, living history events, and art shows all over the Southeast, as well as taking in individuals to his personal shop to encourage their success. One of his most important goals was to pass his skills on to his children and grandchildren. I'm proud to boast that my son and I have the honor of being trained in blacksmithing, gun making, knife making, leather work, horn work, and wood carving by him. Bob is a living manifestation of an advocate of the arts. The impact he has made on the black powder, gun making, and blacksmithing communities in South Carolina will be evident for many years to come.
I'm Bob Hill, Robert Walter Hill III. I build flintlock rifles and accoutrements to go with them. I've always been an outdoorsman. I spent most of my life hunting and carrying on in the woods around here in South Carolina. But I always had an interest in history. Growing up, this area right here where we are was very, very active during the Revolutionary War. Where other little boys grew up playing cowboys and Indians, we were playing swamp fox and redcoats. The way I got started in this is I wanted a very nice flintlock rifle, muzzle-loading rifle, and I couldn't afford to buy it, so I decided I would build it. In Europe during this time, it took about 19 to 20 men to build a gun. Blacksmith, woodworker, wood carver, engraver, silversmith. I had to learn all those trades, and that's why it took me so long. I do a lot of events over at the Living History Farm. It always tickles me to see these kids come through and the interest that they have in seeing something they've never seen. If we don't keep these traditions going, it's going to be gone. It'll be lost to the next generation. My son Walter started real early blacksmithing right at my elbow, and he kept on doing it, got better and better. As far as I'm concerned, he's a more accomplished blacksmith than I am. One of my grandsons has gotten very involved in making knives, powder horns, and then one of those guns over there in the corner is one he's building. We can go ahead and take a good bit of this off and we'll refine it later. But you can start scooping down from here.
Okay.
Tapering that down. I've passed it on to 2 generations so far.
Congratulations to Bob Hill, this year's recipient in the advocacy category. On behalf of traditional arts practitioners and advocates across South Carolina, thank you to Jugnu and Bob for their contributions. David Platts will now introduce you to the Governor's Awards recipients.
Since 1972, South Carolina has presented the Governor's Awards for the Arts to honor individuals, organizations, businesses, and public agencies for artistic achievement. These recipients have not only enriched our state's cultural scene, but through their efforts and accomplishments have expanded both the visibility of and accessibility to the arts for all of our citizens. Today, we are pleased to recognize and honor 7 recipients whose achievements and contributions to the Palmetto State's arts community have immeasurably benefited our citizens and enriched our quality of life. Through their creativity, innovation, leadership, and unwavering support, each is clearly deserving of our state's highest awards in the arts. After a lifetime of music, which began with studying piano, organ, violin, cello, and trumpet in his childhood in Awendaw, Charlton Singleton has emerged as the personification of jazz performance in the South Carolina Lowcountry. Earning his degree in music performance from South Carolina State University, he has been an educator teaching music at every level from elementary school through college, is a former artistic director of the Charleston Jazz Orchestra, and from 2016 to 2019 served as the Gaillard Center's first ever artist in residence. Charlton's work with his ranky-tanky bandmates preserving and interpreting the sounds of our state's Gullah culture has been recognized locally and nationally, earned a Grammy Award in 2020 for Best Regional Roots Music Album. And in addition to being an accomplished performer, Charlton is further in demand as a speaker, composer, and arranger.
Charlton P. Singleton from LA, Lower Awendaw, South Carolina. Man, we celebrate you and congratulate you as a 2021 recipient of the Governor's Award for the Arts. And it's truly an honor to call you a brother, to work alongside of you. You are an absolute gem and an ultimate ambassador of South Carolina culture. Thank you for being who you are, and thank you for sharing your gifts with all of us.
I think I discovered my love of music somewhere around the 6th or 7th grade. My middle school band director, Mark Smith, told me I was gonna play the trumpet, even though I wanted to play the drums first, and he was like, Right around that time was when I started to understand that music was gonna be a big part of my life in some form or fashion. If you're an artist, there's always something that you're chasing and always something that you're trying to get out. Anytime you get a spark or something like that, you want to capture it at the moment so that you don't forget it. Sometimes it's getting in the car, and it could be the windshield wipers, the rhythm of that. It could be driving over some, bumps in the road, and that clicks on a rhythm. Jazz Through the Ages is important for us at the Gaillard Center because that's a chance for us to have a room full of students and to let them know about this tremendous music. I think Harry Sweets is the one trumpet player, if I had to pick between all of them, between Dizzy or Miles, you know, the mid, you know, kind of cool period of Miles, or like I said, contemporaries of today, like Wynton Marsalis, it's gonna go back to Harry Sweets Edison. There's a bunch of really fine musicians out there, and you can always take something away from you know, what their performances are. Whatever the next thing is, that's what I'm looking forward to, because I don't know what it is, and that's just exciting. That's the creative aspect of it, and that's what you look for.
Congratulations to Charlton Singleton, our 2021 Governor's Award for the Arts recipient in the Artist category. Originally from Indianapolis, Indiana, Jennifer Clark Evans moved to South Carolina in 1988 and today leads the day-to-day operations and management of the Chapman Cultural Center in Spartanburg, an organization some have described as an arts powerhouse in the South Carolina upstate. Jennifer provided leadership to the $42 million capital campaign to build the center and was a driving force in the efforts to revitalize and designate downtown Spartanburg as a South Carolina cultural district. Her impressive record of achievement in countywide arts coordination is further augmented by many years of energetic and involved arts leadership at the statewide level, earning her numerous awards for service and leadership. Jennifer is a passionate and vocal advocate for the arts community all across the Palmetto State, as often evidenced by her presentation to state legislators as a member of the South Carolina Arts Alliance Board.
Jennifer Clark Evans has been an arts advocate for well over 25 years. Just a few of her accomplishments. She led the campaign to raise over $42 million to build what is now called the Chapman Cultural Center, of which she is currently the CEO and president. She also authored and led the Bloomberg Philanthropic Public Art Installation, a $1 million challenge called Seeing Spartanburg in a New Light. But she doesn't just lead on a community level. She also leads on a state and national level as well. In 2019, Jennifer led and recruited young men of color, young professionals, to speak to over 130 young men of color from North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia in what was called the inaugural My Brother's Keepers Regional Summit. Jennifer is a strong female powerhouse. She is passionate, she's dedicated, she's committed, she's full of conviction and grit. She knows that the arts must be for all. She leads by example, she listens. She has this unique gift to listen and to bring demographics together, to have hard conversations, sometimes about the arts. She realizes the true value of the arts, how the arts can heal, how they can reset and refresh, spark curiosity and inspire. I am very proud to speak today on behalf of Jennifer Clark Evans, the 2021 Governor's Award for Individual.
I played basketball from the 5th grade until my junior year of college. My younger brother is a talented musician, and we grew up in public schools in Indiana, and as an athlete, I had all the resources that I needed. But my younger brother, who was in the marching band and the jazz band, had to sell candy bars and grapefruit for his sheet music and for the uniforms. Well, how is he any less of a talent than me? And so I really impress upon the people that I meet with that it's not one or the other. We need to lift all of our children up. And so we either have a creative arena or a sports arena, but both of those children need an arena, a place to practice their skills and their gifts, to even discover it. So if we only provide children with athletic experiences, how will they ever know if they're a great musician or a dancer or a seamstress or a writer? One of the things that I think is just so important to know is that I believe everyone has creativity within them. And my job, I feel like, is to make sure that there are multiple layers and levels of getting involved in the arts, not necessarily just through the formal arts of music and dance, but that we have graffiti art, and that if there's a mural artist or spoken word, one of the most important priorities in the arts, and it hasn't changed for a long time, and I don't see it ever changing, is the accessibility to the arts. For people to appreciate the arts, they have to have access to the arts. And so whether you are a musician and you've never attended the ballet, or you're a graffiti artist and you've never walked into a museum, it is critical that the arts are accessible to all people.
Congratulations to this year's Governor's Award recipient in the individual category, Jennifer Clark Evans. Though many know him as Dean of the University of South Carolina School of Music, Taylor Harding's influence goes much further. A passionate believer in the power of music and arts education to transform individuals, communities, and all of human society, he has 12 years service on the Arts and Basic Curriculum Steering Committee and is a frequent advocate with the South Carolina Arts Alliance. He served as consultant for the City of Columbia's Cultural Plan and has national board service exposure with multiple groups. As Dean of Music at the University of South Carolina, his guiding philosophy is to more fully prepare tomorrow's professional musicians by combining conventional music study with curricular and co-curricular music advocacy, music entrepreneurship, and community engagement. In addition to his considerable efforts in music education, he remains an active composer who garners commissions and performances from around the world.
15 years ago, when the School of Music was looking for its next dean, I served on the search committee. I remember that one of the people who recommended Taylor Harding said that he was Mr. Up-and-Coming Music Administrator, the person to watch as an organized, innovative leader for the future. 15 years later, I can attest to the fact that this is truly Taylor. In the world of higher education, it's extremely rare for a dean to serve in that position for more than 5 years. But during his 15 years at the university, Taylor has served not only as dean, but also as interim provost, associate provost for community engagement, and dean of the South Carolina Honors College. He's led the School of Music to become recognized as one of the premier public university music schools in America. During his time as dean, he's increased the School of Music's annual budget by 78%, its endowment by 234%, the scholarship and financial aid budget by 145%, the size of its faculty and staff by 66%, and the facilities devoted to music making and the arts by 166%. Taylor is truly a Renaissance man in music, not only a brilliant administrator, but also a superb composer, teacher, communicator, and a man with a big heart. He has inspired his colleagues and literally thousands of students, and he's had a major impact on the arts in South Carolina and throughout the United States. I'm thrilled that Taylor is one of this year's Governor's Award recipients. Congratulations, Taylor.
I've had the opportunity to be involved in the musical educations and the making of musical lives of countless students over the last 40 years. And it's a blessing beyond all measure. Arts education is even more profound and has an even greater impact on individual lives if those individuals can make music or art. We know this. I would love it if we had a society of people who are always looking for ways to engage in making art and making music whenever they can.
Dean Harding is such a selfless individual. I can think of no one better or more deserving for such a prestigious award here in South Carolina.
I'm delighted to be here with Celebrate Local Heroes with the concert truck. The music school at South Carolina believes that we should bring the power of student learning and faculty work for the public good, and that's why we're here. And it's why we created a big initiative that Celebrate Local Heroes is a part of. And that big initiative is called Bridging Our Distances.
Sort of working in tandem with this Bridging Our Distances initiative, Dean Harding's approach to inclusivity and our performance priorities here at the School of Music are globally focused, taking this music beyond the space of the concert hall into the community.
Taylor is never content with what is happening now. He's always thinking ahead about what's next, what we can do better. I like that about him because he's never in coast mode. He's always got the foot on the gas.
It was so much fun. Just unequaled sense of pride that we were able to do all of this with all these people. And I think that was one of the things about Mass that was so appealing, and then such a great payoff in the end, was that I think people left not only moved but changed when we're making music or in an arts experience that we know is profound and unique while we're in it, that affects us in ways other things can't. I figured out my one thing. Yeah.
This year's Arts and Education category Governor's Award recipient, Dr. Taylor Harding. Congratulations, Taylor. Colonial Life is much more than just an insurance company. For more than 80 years, this Columbia-based market leader of financial protection has demonstrated a broad commitment to individual artists, arts education, and community access to the arts through a host of philanthropic and volunteerism initiatives. Embodying the philosophy of both leader and servant, Colonial Life has made significant investments of resources, time, and talent to provide and support educational, health and well-being, as well as arts and culture programs for citizens of South Carolina, helping to ensure a vibrant and thriving art scene in the Palmetto State, not only for today, but for generations yet to come.
Hello, I'm Dolly Patton, Director of the Saluda Shoals Foundation, and I am honored and excited to be here to congratulate Colonial Life on receiving the 2021 Governor's Award for the Arts. For more than 70 years, Colonial Life has demonstrated a deep commitment to local communities through corporate funding and volunteerism, enriching the quality of life for thousands of South Carolinians. Here at Saluda Shoals Park, Colonial Life has provided sustaining funding to support many of the programs we have to connect people to nature. Those projects include environmental education, arts programs, and capital projects, including funds to help build Leo's Landing, our universally inclusive playground. This playground features interactive musical instruments as well as site-specific artwork. For more than 20 years, Colonial Life has provided sustaining contributions to organizations in the arts, including the Columbia Museum of Art, the Columbia City Ballet, and the South Carolina Philharmonic. Known for their deep commitment to social responsibility, Colonial Life has provided sustaining funding for programs focusing on diversity, inclusion, equity, and accessibility. The arts community stays vital and continues to grow with the support of companies like Colonial Life. On behalf of the numerous nonprofit organizations who have supported this nomination, I would like to say we are extraordinarily thankful to have such a strong supporter for the arts and our local communities. I offer my congratulations to Colonial Life, an exemplary corporate citizen deeply committed to the arts and most deserving of this award.
I really love theater. It's great to have a facility like the Coger Center for the Arts here in Columbia. It's great to have really talented performers here.
In my years on the Arts Foundation, it was really fascinating to learn how many innovative artists we have in the state.
It's so difficult to name one particular favorite artist or performer with so many talented artists with ties to South Carolina.
Mark Rapp, Alicia Leak, Michael Story, our Leo Twiggs, just so many wonderful talents.
Arts is an enormous part of education, obviously, and a big part of what we do here. So there are a few programs that we've implemented to try to help. I think about our Strong Schools grant program to allow them to purchase supplies that they might need, and also to ensure that children still have access to arts. When COVID first began to emerge, we started with a business plan around our company, our clients, our policyholders, but we also began to think about our community. We recognized that artists are really going to be struggling, and so we put together a few programs to try to help.
We're in the promise-keeping business. An insurance benefit is a promise that we're going to be there for you when you need it the most. And I think the arts tie into that in a very real way, that it's a promise of a brighter future, of hope. Art's a way to process emotions when you're sad.
I'm proud to work for a company that supports arts and arts education, and to have art accessible to everyone is so important.
We work with the City Ballet, we work with the Town Theater, we work with the South Carolina Philharmonic. Our employees, as you see behind me, are just a huge part of that. We recognize so many others in the community do so much. And so we're very proud to receive the award, but also humbled by it.
Colonial Life, this year's recipient in the business category. Thank you, and congratulations to your entire team. Since its founding in 2014, the Cola Jazz Foundation has worked tirelessly to establish and promote Columbia as a premier jazz destination by highlighting the accomplished jazz artists and educators active in and around the city. Their innovative programming has been highly successful in putting Columbia on the musical arts map by bringing international jazz stars, including NEA Jazz Masters and Grammy Award winners such as Wynton Marsalis, to the capital city. In addition, their typical season includes community-focused workshops, young people's programming like a summer camp and after-school curriculum, live and virtual concerts, and monthly dinner and jazz concerts. And events like the Cola Jazz Fest, Cola Jazz Crawl, and the International Jazz Day attract artists and jazz patrons from across the state and beyond to enjoy the vibrant art scene of the South Carolina Midlands.
Congratulations, congratulations, and congratulations again, Cola Jazz Foundation, for receiving this year's Governor's Award. You are well deserved of such an award. This past year has been extremely difficult. However, you found the way to keep the artists within your fold, myself included, working by way of your live streams every week. We got a chance not only to express our own art or become better in our musicianship, but to see the art of the other artists within your fold. You were able to create content for local artists, but not just for us artists, but of all ages, with the virtual Jazz Fest, from which you brought artists from up the East Coast and around the world. Thank you for that. You also was able to expand what we did as an artist and strengthening our musicianship. We gained greater audiences. Our audience numbers increased because of what you decided to do. Not stop, but continue to press on, press forward, and hold firm to your mission to present jazz to all South Carolinians, North Carolinians, and throughout the world. Thank you so much. We are so grateful, and we appreciate you. Once again, congratulations, Cola Jazz Foundation.
My name is Mark Rapp. I'm the Executive Director of the Cola Jazz Foundation, a jazz trumpeter and educator. Cola Jazz has developed very organically. I moved back to Columbia, South Carolina from Geneva, Switzerland. And before that, I was in New York City, before that, New Orleans. And I've had an amazing career in jazz, touring the world, playing the best clubs and festivals and making records, and been very fortunate. So I come back to Columbia, South Carolina, and I find myself surrounded by this world-class talent, like this really cool scene happening. So I wanted to highlight that scene and bring more attention to these musicians. So we started with a compilation CD, recorded 13 band leaders, almost 30 different sidemen and women, released this compilation CD, then we developed a jazz calendar, artist features on the website, and then that developed into an annual jazz festival, annual summer camp, into the outreach programs, playing in the Children's Hospital, and it's just been very organic growth year after year after year. Right here on the Koger Center stage, we had an opportunity to do a Jazz for Young People concert, and we had nearly 2,000 third graders in this auditorium, and we walked out on stage and they just screamed like we were the biggest rock stars. It was phenomenal. And we gave them an hour program on South Carolina jazz culture. We showed them that South Carolina has a rich history in jazz and that there's a lot of cool things happening right here where we live. You don't have to go to New York, you don't have to go to Dallas or LA. Man, the things that are happening in South Carolina is pretty hip. I'm very proud of Cola Jazz for stepping up and stepping out. And during these difficult times, we immediately shifted and we did everything possible to keep the music alive, to keep the musicians working, keep the community engaged, to keep active. And it's just been a phenomenal year. And to be recognized for such a Herculean effort, and I tell you, it's been Herculean. It's absolutely wonderful.
Congratulations to Mark Rapp and the entire team at the Cola Jazz Foundation, our 2021 recipient in the Governor's Arts Awards Organization category. Our next recipient holds the distinction of being South Carolina's second longest serving Poet Laureate, a position she held from 2003 until her self-imposed retirement last year in 2020. Marjorie Whitworth's poetry speaks not only of South Carolina's rich history and culture, but also gives voice to its modern human condition, the here and now, recognizing the state's beauty and promise, but never afraid to address its shortcomings, challenging us to do better. Marjorie is also a New York Times best-selling co-author as well as author of a prize-winning children's story. Numerous published titles include more of her own poetry books, and co-authored titles include a collection of poetry. Co-edited with Kwame Dawes, inspired by the art of South Carolina's artist Jonathan Green. Since stepping down as Poet Laureate, Marjorie continues to contribute leadership and service to social justice and free speech initiatives, and teaches courses in writing, social justice, and banned books at the College of Charleston.
All right, it is an honor to be a part of Marjorie's honor. I've been a fan of Marjorie's work for close to 20 years now. And even if I was just a reader of her work, I would take a lot of inspiration from it. And I did that early on in my poetry career. So the fact that we are friends and we've been working together on a lot of different projects really means a lot to me. She's also really shown me what it means to be a professional poet. That's something that you don't really get from a lot of other poets. And I can just say that honestly, I really do appreciate what she has taught me poetically and just how to navigate this whole poet laureate world and do it staying true to your voice, staying true to your convictions as well. So I'm very much honored to be a part of her life, and I'm really excited to see what else she's able to cook up. Thank you, Marjorie, for all that you do for us, and we definitely appreciate it, and I definitely appreciate it.
I started writing poems when I was in maybe middle school age, and I find as I go into schools and meet young people that that's pretty common. That's, you know, I think it's an age where you're trying to figure stuff out. I love doing readings. When I do a reading, it gets really quiet, really fast. But you can feel it. It's not about applause or wiping tears or even laughter. And I think you get that feeling when you read a poem. You know, you recognize something about your own experience, and that's sort of the great strength of poetry. I was asked to write a poem in response to COVID, when 100,000 people had died. So I wrote this poem, 100,000 Names. You know, I mean, it was staggering to think about at the time. And then the numbers just kept going up. I went down to in front of City Hall and read it there. And of course the mayor, they were texting me, probably you better make it 400,000. That day, January 5th, we hit over 400,000. That's a poem that I think it's meant a lot to people. That's what a poet should do. You know, find the language for something inexplicable. 100,000 stories left to tell. 100,000 voices suddenly silent. 100,000 names etched on the altars of our hearts. Our grief is collective, tear-stained and bright blue, like a wound, or the wind wrapping itself around you as you step back into the world where the names of the lost are tumbling through the sky. Poems have this strange life, something that is really hard to describe, and once you write a poem, you can't imagine where the journey the poem is going to make. The life of a poem is really interesting. The way a poem can reach people in ways you just, that's out of your hands.
In recognition of a long and impactful tenure as South Carolina's Poet Laureate, Marjorie Wentworth receives a special Governor's Award. Thank you so much, Marjorie, for your service and your voice. On behalf of all of your fellow South Carolinians, congratulations. Our final award is unique in many ways, not the least of which is because its recipient came to South Carolina not because of the arts, but because of college football. And no, we are not talking about either Clemson or the University of South Carolina. In the late 1940s, Tom Flowers left his home in Washington, D.C. to attend Furman University, where he earned his bachelor's degree in art. After earning the MFA degree at the University of Iowa and serving his country in the United States Air Force, he returned to Greenville and to Furman, where he taught in the school's art department for 30 years, from 1959 to his retirement in 1989. For much of his tenure, he served as department chair, steering and encouraging countless young artists. Decorated and widely exhibited, as an artist himself, Tom's work found their homes in museums and collections throughout the Southeast, including South Carolina's State Art Collection. In addition, he notably served the upstate arts community on various boards and commissions. Originally nominated for a Governor's Award in this year's Artist category, Thomas Earl Flowers sadly passed away on December the 13th, 2020, after his nomination had been received. The awards panel subsequently reviewed the nomination and recommended him for a special Lifetime Achievement Award, which was approved unanimously by the South Carolina Arts Commission Board. Tom is survived by his multiple practicing artists in his family, further adding to the legacy of student artists he taught and inspired over his long and distinguished educational and artistic career.
When Tom's son, Mark, sent me a poster that I had given his dad 50 years earlier, it was a pleasant reminder of Tom's friendship. The poster was one that was done for my show, my first show in New York in 1978. I only had a few special posters, and so I kept them and I sent them only to my very dear friends because I did not have a lot of them. Of course, Tom was on that list. He was warm, endearing, and always supportive. That is why I believe that he was that way with all of his colleagues. I wasn't just special. And that is also why I believe he's so deserving of this Lifetime Achievement Award.
One time he said to me, "You'll understand me more when you see my sketchbooks." Even in his painting, there is drawing. There's the movement of line. I see it in some of Dad's students. The line is the link throughout his life. That little gift has lived on in several other artists. It's not tight rendering. It's drawing with pencil first, laying down gouache or watercolor, and then coming back into it with line as well. It was the tactile event of opening a book and carrying the book. The scratch of the pencil, the getting out of the gouache, or doing it on the spot was the way Dad, I think, just simply thought out his ideas. There's something else going on besides just an attempt at photographic realism. There's some sort of mood, there's some sort of emotional angle to his drawings. This book, he spent many years filling it with small sketches. Landscape, little notations, 2/24/05, sunshine. Misty morning, 1/30/06. Rainy day, 2/02/04. Drafted October 1950, Army, Fort Jackson, and then there's a drawing of Tia, his youngest daughter. He's left me something here, you know, to figure out and to read. I think his sketchbooks go back from at least the 50s up until last summer. It's been a real privilege to be able to see his history all on one table. Dad was a teacher and an artist, and Dad's character, his generosity, his ability to communicate, and his physical presence was an influence for many people. He was the pre-internet, pre-cell phone leader in the South Carolina arts community that set up the next generation. Since Dad's time, the exponential increase of people in the arts is quite evident. And after his death, I heard so many nice comments from people that said, "Your dad made a difference in my life."
The South Carolina Governor's Award for Lifetime Achievement, presented posthumously and gratefully to Tom Flowers for the art you created, the lives you shaped and molded, and your lasting legacy for the artistic and cultural community in your adopted home state of South Carolina. A life well lived.
Mrs. McMaster, I want to thank you for helping me introduce this impressive group of artists from all across our state. Congratulations to our 2021 Governor's Awards recipients and to all of tonight's honorees. Thank you for your many contributions to the arts, creativity, and traditions of the Palmetto State. Thank you for serving your communities and our state so well.
And thank you all for joining us this evening to celebrate. I'm honored to have been able to host this wonderful celebration.
And thank you, Mrs. McMaster, for your hospitality in hosting us and for helping us celebrate all the achievements of our fellow South Carolinians. Congratulations to each of our recipients, and thank you for all you do to make South Carolina culturally rich and unique. We hope that you enjoyed your documentaries and the surprise testimonials, and that this ceremony shows you our appreciation for all you have accomplished. But, as Leonardo da Vinci said, art is never finished. So we look forward to your continued creations and contributions to the arts community across our state. And to our audience, we appreciate your joining us for this special event. The South Carolina Arts Commission and the University of South Carolina's McKissick Museum are already anticipating another great year of artistic achievement in South Carolina. And we look forward to honoring another exceptional group of artists and art supporters next spring in 2022.